Hello and welcome to my channel. Another day, another Christmas. Christmas? Another day, another Christmas sweater. I've decided that I enjoy wearing a holly jolly sweater pretty much every day of every time I film, at least for this month. So that is what I'm gonna do. This sweater though, this was the last one that I found at my neighborhood Target. And the lady was like, I think you should get it. I feel like you should get it. So I did, and it made me so happy when I put it on because I immediately started singing the Mickey Mouse Club theme song. The one that was on TV during the 90s with like JC Justin, Ryan Gosling, Brittany, Christina, all them, and there were other people on there as well that we don't talk about anymore. But anyway, as I'm talking right now, the theme song is still playing in my head. So yeah, this was definitely a good buy. Anyway, since I started my YouTube journey, you all have been asking me to please watch a dating show and give my thoughts. Specifically, y'all have been asking for me to talk about Love is Blind, Married at First Sight. Yeah, those have been the two that have come up a lot. And I have stayed away from that kind of content. I explained it a little bit in another video that I did. I forget which one, but I basically said, when it comes to me and dating, it was when I talked about that guy, SK from Love is Blind. Yeah, because I hadn't actually watched the show, but I had heard the conversations that were happening about him offline in various corners of the internet. So I was like, I want to put it on this because I got something to say about it. I did not watch that show. I have not watched it. And I normally don't watch dating shows. And in that video, I explained that it's because, number one, I am always in the trenches. My dating life has been a Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus since I first sent a love note to a little boy in the 5th grade and his teacher found it and read it in front of the whole class and then read it to all of the 5th grade teachers. So then I was known as the little girl with the big emotions who did not know how to properly apply them in a realistic way. And here we are today with that very same story. No, it's more complicated than that. But basically, my life has always been a circus. I've never had a real regular dating situation. And so watching crazy dating content for just like sport, it doesn't appeal to me. It's one thing to like be relating to people who understand like what you've been through and like, man, we've been through the trenches. Oh, what's your story? Here's my story. But when you got people that sign up for it, to just get dragged and just treated ridiculously for the sake of content, I just kind of cringe a little bit. I don't want to purposefully watch that. And I know more than that happens on these shows, but when I read the tabloids, when I read the headlines, when I see people talking about it on TikTok and on YouTube, they're not talking about like the sweet moments. They're not talking about the positives. They're talking about the crazy stuff. And I don't need any more of that in my life because I'm still trying to process my own crazy stuff. If I had more of like a chill dating experience, then I probably would be like, yeah, I'll turn that on. That's cute. But because dating for me is like,
all right, this is it, people. Let's move. Let's go.
I don't find that kind of thing entertaining. I also don't like watching the shows because normally I don't relate to anybody that's on them. I remember like back in the day when The Bachelor and The Bachelorette were the most popular dating shows on network television. And it was normally an extremely lily white affair, not a single drop of chocolate in the bunch. And then they started adding Black people. You even had like Black bachelorettes. And there was always something extremely racist that would occur whenever a Black person was on the show. Have we ever had a Black bachelor? Oh God, that might have been the most ridiculous situation of all. And another example of a man who's like, I don't want to date Black women. I know I might look Black, but why do you think I have to date Black? I can date who I want. Whatever. Matt James was the Black bachelor and he was forced to go through a whole imitation of life moment while he was on the show because one of the girls that was attracted to him or wanted his attention wrote a bunch of racist stuff, attended a wedding on a plantation, and he was forced to come to grips with his identity as a Black man in front of everybody, which I think I did a video about him when I first started YouTube. And I was like, I feel sorry for him. Like, even though he wouldn't spit on me if I was on fire, I don't think anybody should have to go through that experience in front of the whole world like this. And the people that bring people on to The Bachelor, be more cognizant of the fact that their race is going to play into their experience, even if they're not. Well, you then could say that maybe he signed himself up for that. Yeah, I no longer feel bad for him. Okay. But anyway, I could not usually relate to what was going on. And it's not even like a race thing always. And sometimes it was just like the premise of who was getting on the show. So like shows like Hot or Not, you know, that were on Netflix where everybody's like a 22-year-old Instagram model and they've had like 190 sex partners and they're dating 12 people at a time. I can't relate to that. I don't care what happens to these people. I'm surprised they're still standing up straight with all of the sex and things that they're having on a daily basis, according to, you know, their cast bios or whatever. So I'm not interested in that. I think the only time I was interested in watching a dating show was because I related was when we had Claire, the Bachelorette a couple years ago, who was 38 years old. And even then, that was really hard to watch. And so when they replaced her with Tayshia, I was like, okay. And I tried to watch a little bit of Tayshia's season, but all of the crying, I just can't do. I just, no. Another reason why I don't watch them though, and I think this is really important, especially with the shows that are popular now, like Married at First Sight and Love is Blind, the concept sets up the contestants to leave the show with significant like emotional damage. There have been articles put out recently about Love is Blind and whether or not it's actually even good for the people who sign up or whether or not it's good for us as viewers. And so it's not my kind of content. I don't like it. A lot of times people ask me if I'd ever go on a show. I don't need to go on a show to live a circus. I really don't. My answer to that is no. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to go on it. That's the end. Until I found Back in the Groove on Hulu. Last weekend, I was at home and I was looking through, you know, television and seeing what I could see. And this show pops up and I was like, what is this? And I just happened to click on it because I liked the little title. I hadn't seen any promotions about it. I didn't know what it was. And it was the best thing that I could have watched and the best introduction into what I hope is a new phase and a new way of doing dating content. Back in the Groove is a show about women in their 40s who have been sent to this hotel called the Groove Hotel in the Dominican Republic. And their job is to get their groove on. They're stepping out of their daily lives in order to reconnect with a certain spirit about themselves. There is a catch though to who they're going to be connecting with that almost made me turn the show off. And the catch is they are connecting with younger men. I am not a fan of dating younger men, of older women dating younger men. Here's why. I think there's one thing when so I'm 38. If a guy is 34 or 35, that's one thing. But if I'm 42 and he's 25, no. If I'm 42 and he's 29, no. I don't think everybody's 40 is made the same. Everybody's 42 is not the same. Everybody's 43 as far as women are concerned. You have some women who get to that age and they've been married. They have kids, they've been building their career, and they're really in a season of their life where they just want to have fun. Then absolutely they need a younger man. He don't know what he wants to do yet. He's maybe in school. He just likes to work out. He just wants to hang. Children, real commitment, all of that stuff is years down the line for him. Y'all have similar interests and a similar reason to connect together. But it is when you haven't experienced those things yet, and you meet up or hook up with somebody who does not take those things seriously, I think you set yourself up to get hurt. So when I found out that these women were going to be dating younger men on this show, I almost turned it off. But I kept watching because everybody was so captivating. So you've got three women, Stephanie, Brooke, and Sparkle. Right off the bat, Stephanie was my favorite. First of all, we had the same name. Secondly, we were kind of similar in our personalities in that she's a very deep feeling person. There's a lot going on there, but she tends to endear herself to people through comedy, through being like the light of the party, through, being almost like the MC. They would have these little mixers and she's the one that would go in and be like, hey, what's up tonight? What are we drinking? What's going on? Who's doing shots? I was like, okay, girl. She's a lot of fun. And she had a very engaging personality, like I said, right from the beginning. So right at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I love her. She also has a secret in her relation to one of the guys on the show, but I'm not gonna give it away. And don't you give it away either in the comments if you know what it is. Next up, we have Brooke. And Brooke is a personal trainer from LA. And within 2 seconds of meeting Brooke, I had to pause the show and watch something else for a little bit because Brooke is exactly what I was talking about when I said, the type of person I don't think needs to be dating somebody that much younger than her. Brooke was like, I am here to hopefully meet my husband. I still want a family. I want everything. I want a child. And I was like, ugh. Because again, I'm looking at it like you're setting yourself up to get hurt because these fools ain't thinking about that. They just want to swim and make out with people. So I meet Brooke and I'm like, oh, I got to take a break. This show might hurt my feelings. But eventually I ended up coming on back. And that's when I met Sparkle. Sparkle is legitimately a celebrity in her own right. She has done hair for music superstars. She's done hair for the Real Housewives of Atlanta cast members. She is a businesswoman in the city of Atlanta, or she was for a long time, who is recognized for her styling, for her hair, for her makeup, you know, whatever. She has been on talk shows. She's led conventions. Like, Sparkle wasn't nothing to play with. Also, her body. Really the body of all of the women. But Sparkle really spoke to me, you know, as a Black woman, and then as a Black woman with a certain build, I was like, okay. All of these women look fantastic. They're in their 40s. And I loved at the beginning of the show how the MC said, or the host said, these women are in the prime of their lives. And I thought it was such a divine thing that I found the show, because you'll remember a couple videos ago, I was like, what do 40s even look like? Like, what do we do? Like, I sincerely don't know if I'm prepared for that decade, because what does it look like? And so it was like, bam, here's what it can look like. Here are people. Here you go. Anyway, they're sitting in a room together. They're all talking about like what their goals are and what they want to do. And in comes the host of the show, Taye Diggs. And that really got me excited, because I think over the past year and a half, Taye Diggs has really shown a lot of his like comedic side. Like, the guy is hilarious. So I was expecting him to really cut up and be like this really involved host. He is not. He only comes in the first episode. You never see him again. Well, you see him at the end. But it's cool that he's hosting the show too, because he actually got like his big break in movies years ago, playing a 20-something guy who hooks up with Angela Bassett, who's in her 40s, in the movie How Stella Got Her Groove Back, which is where I think that the concept of this show comes from. So I loved seeing him, because I was like, oh, he's so funny. And also I was like, oh, I get it. I know why he's here. Yes. We meet the host, and then we get a chance to meet the guys. And I don't want to give anything away, so I'm only kind of talking about the first episode here, but I am going to be giving information about the guys that you learn as you watch the show. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it for you. First off, we have Crew. And Crew is an important character because Crew identifies Brooke right away. And again, I don't know what the producers of the reality show planned and wrote for and what actually happened, like as far as real authentic feelings. But all I can say is that at one point, Brooke, she's going through, you know, this show, she's talking to us about our past, and this girl has a past, like a lot of these women, all of these women have a past, and I'll get to that in a second. But she's talking to us about like the things she's been through and so on and so forth. And when I say that on camera, it looks like that's a serious connection right off the bat. And of course, you know, he's a younger man, but he showed up. He showed up for her in a big way, and you'll see if you watch it. But I do know at one point, Brooke looks into the camera and she goes, could my dream self come true? Is that what's happening right now? And then she starts crying, which like made me cry. The next guy that was interesting to me was Akio. And Akio's just gorgeous. He has this beautiful skin. He has these long twists in his hair. He's just a beautiful, beautiful man. And I went, you know, looking at the social media profiles of anybody who interested me, like from the beginning. And I saw that he's like a legitimate like music producer and so on and so forth. And I was like, oh, okay. I feel like he should have done better on the show. I feel like they should have done better by him, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, he's gorgeous. And then we have my favorite, Gary. So right off the bat, you know, you're looking at like who's there whenever all the guys come out. And I saw Gary and I was like, yeah, damn. He's not, you know, I don't know. But I will say this, okay? I was watching the show and I was like sipping a little bit of wine while I'm watching the show. And I'm like, I'll send Gary a little message. Let him know I see him. Because he wasn't just attractive. He obviously takes very good care of himself. Like a lot of the dudes on the show, he's a working model, which is how I think they got cast anyway. They're like models and they need, you know, their agent sent them out for this gig. But he is so emotionally aware. and able to so clearly state his feelings. And he makes a decision while he's on the show that is so impressive. And for me, really set the tone for how different this dating show is than from other dating shows that I've seen. And I was so impressed by what he did. Number one, because he's still in his 20s. And I was like, oh, look at you. And number two, I am not that well acquainted with that raw, vulnerable, honest side of men. I think when you've had the experiences that I've had, you've only known men giving you like their superficial side. They're just, they don't care. You can tell they don't care. You can't trust them. It seems like they're not really fully present. But what I loved about Gary was in the moment where he makes this decision, you can see how present he is for this experience. And I was so impressed, which led to me stalking his Instagram for a solid hour. Yeah. So he was my favorite of all the men, but he wasn't alone, I want to say, in that emotional intelligence. I mean, yeah, you had one or two of them and it was like, dude, get out of here. And all of the ladies had a moment where they booted somebody from the show for being disrespectful. And so I loved that. But most of the guys that were there were just incredibly emotionally intelligent, responsive, patient, able to handle the past of these women and handle it with grace, except for one dude. And you'll find out who he is when you watch it. He started off as kind of my favorite, and I really liked him for one of the ladies, and she really likes him as well. And I'm not going to call him out, but he was my biggest disappointment because he just was, and to be fair, he was the most honestly 20-something guy that was given like a spotlight on the show. A lot of the dudes stood out because they were so mature. But he definitely, from the beginning, it was like, okay, yeah, this is the kind of fool. If you're going to mess with somebody in their 20s, this is the kind of fool right here. Like, yeah, he wants a good time. Throwing anything big at him is going to topple him over. And he's not ready for the reality of really being with a woman in her 40s. Like, really being with her. Not just, we hook up, we have sex while my kids are at their dad's house, or, hey, my kids are grown, or I'm grown and all I want is this from you and no strings attached and let's just have fun. Let's keep it cute. But no, actually being with her and what that takes and really meeting her where her dreams are and where her goals are and where her aspirations are and meeting her based on what she's been through, which brings me to the past of all of these women. So like I said, normally when I watch a dating show, I can't really relate. I'm like, oh, y'all went and found some young models and put them out here. Okay. Oh, you went and found a 27-year-old and it's time for her to pick her husband. So now she's going to pick from 300 white men. Okay, whatever. But these women all impressed me separately because they brought with them the realities of being a woman and growing into your womanhood and the things that can happen to you biologically, the things that can happen to you in your life with your career, the ups and downs that you can go through by the time, if you're fortunate enough, by the time you reach your 4th decade on this earth. And each one of them had a story. And I was so grateful that that is who they cast. Because I think so often, like I said a couple videos ago, we think about adulthood. We're like, okay, we just got to get to 30, get married by 30, do this by 30, do that. And that's it. All of the narratives stop. All of the talking about life kind of stops. It sort of centers around the home and like being parents. And that's mostly the narrative you hear from people 30s and beyond. What was their identity like as moms and dads and making lunches and doing whatever? And other stories, other truths people live, we don't hear about them as much. And even in the relationship between older women and younger men, older women are just these cougars who have money and who just want to have sex all the time and that's it. But we don't think about the humanity and we don't get to see it displayed. And so with picking each one of these women, it was like you had no choice as a viewer to be invested in their humanity, because they weren't just bringing the, oh yeah, I got money, I just want to hang out and have a good time. Those were not the vibes all the time. Things got serious and they all had a chance to tell their stories. And for that reason, this show to me stands out. This was not just a dating show where older women hook up with younger men and it's a hot, cute, sexy time. This was a place where these women were allowed to come and heal. And it's so great watching them, like at the end. It reminds me of when I would go to like summer camp, or when I would, I don't know, anytime you have gone through something at summer camp is something I think of, but there's been other experiences in my life. Recently, I shared with my Patreon audience about when I studied abroad and when I lived abroad for a little bit in college, and the bonds you make, the friends you make when you go through these experiences. And to add to that, these women all got to hear each other's stories and watch each other be able to let go of a lot of the things that they were holding on to before they showed up. And it was great. It was like a transformation. And all of them come out with something different. And all of them come out with something that is aligned to them. I know I said I was just talking about the first episode, but I've seen the whole thing, so I can tell you that. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not going to give any spoilers. If you are looking for a different type of dating content, and this one is just really feel good. This is feel good. This is not no psychology experiment. You're not going to feel bad for any of these people when it's over. You're not going to, I don't know, go to their social media profiles and hate on them. I couldn't believe he was acting like this is not Real Housewives of the Groove Hotel. No. This is a show about 3 women who were given an opportunity to have a great experience, and it's a great vehicle for the journey of womanhood in general. And I don't know if you can tell, but by the end of it, I had cried a little bit, a couple times with these characters with these people as they grew and experienced this. So yeah, if you're looking for something new to watch, I loved it, and I'll probably watch it again just to see Gary. I'm not kidding. I'm really not. I'm really not. I'm gonna let it go. But yeah, if you're looking for something that is new and you want a new type of dating show and you want something that like actually makes you feel good when you watch it, definitely can't recommend this one enough. 10 out of 10, no notes. Well, some notes, but I don't think that that's related to the show. I think that's just the character's decision. So again, 10 out of 10. Have you seen the show? What do you think? What are your opinions? Let's try and not spoil it for people in the comment section. And as always, thank you for watching.